So believe it or not, we're still in Carvuelo. Still haven't moved into our apartment, but I think we have some positive news this week. So I'll probably get to that on the next episode. Today's episode though, I'm gonna walk down to the beach here in Carvuelo and do some photography. Up until the second I turned on the camera to talk about how windy it was, it's been really windy this morning. In fact, it was so windy last night it woke me up. And I was kind of hoping for a bit of a windy morning this morning because it makes the seas a little bit wilder usually and you get a little bit more drama. So hopefully that's the case. Standing out on glacier lakes. Oh, you locked me out for days. So I honestly don't have a plan at all this morning for photography other than going down to the beach. This week has been kind of crazy with a lot of things happening, and it's now Sunday morning, so I'm filming this video the same day I'm posting it, almost like back in my daily vlogging days. And yeah, I don't have a plan, nor did I have a plan when I started talking to you just this second, so I don't know where I'm going with this, but the beach is just right around this corner. And it felt as we were living in our forfeits. It's nice of them to put that big studio light up there on the beach for me so I can film this. I have kind of two ideas for this morning, but it looks like my first idea is not really gonna work because the tide's still too high. Along this coast here, there's some really crazy rock formations and they get waves smashing over them. So I might come back to that later in the morning. The tide is retreating. But my second idea was to work with some of these boats in the foreground. So I'm gonna keep scouting around and try to find something here. So I got the boats behind me and they're okay. I think there is a photo there. It's just maybe a quick photo, maybe a little bit later in the day. I want to get a little bit more complicated. The sea's retreating for sure, and I think I can get a little bit around that corner to start, and there is some rocks there. It just might be a bit of a boring photo. So I'm just still exploring. When you head out to a location, do not head out to the location 15 minutes before sunrise. Head out like an hour. Because even in the dark you can find things. It just sometimes takes some searching around. I'm gonna keep exploring. I still have, I think, 30 minutes until sunrise, so I've still got some time. Okay, so there's definitely a photo on the other side of the beach, but the sky looks like it's gonna be bland that way. See, he's trying to get me. So I'm coming up to this area that was in high tide just 15 minutes ago, and now I can walk to. So you can see behind me, I guess tide's still jumping a bit. You see behind me there's these rocks. These could make a photo, but when the tide's low, you can walk all the way out there. And there's like a piece of earth that sticks out, and I was thinking that I could get photos back towards town there. It's just not possible this morning. I'm gonna photograph some of these rocks or try to find a composition with this. It's not what I was planning to shoot, but we'll make a photo. We'll get something done. When you're doing seascape photography, one of the things is always making sure your gear's safe. So I'm always trying to photograph during retreating tides, and then even then, I'll find the biggest rock that I can find, and I'll climb up on top of it, and then that's where I set my bag. It looks like it hasn't been wet here at all, even during high tide, so it should be safe. Then I'll take my gear out, then I'll start making some photos. It turns out the Atlantic Ocean is cold in the morning. Yikes! Anyways, it's a good way to wake up. I actually like this photo. Basically, I'm at ISO 400, 3 seconds, f11. And what I want to say is, don't be isophobic. A lot of photographers are terrified of ISO, and it just goes back to the good old days of film and early digital, where you used to get a ton of noise. Modern cameras, you go ISO 100 to 800 and you're not going to see basically any difference at all. I want like a 3 second, 2 second shutter speed to get some motion in this water. So that's what I'm doing, and I think this is going to turn out. Don't mind me as I stare at the sea so I don't get hit by a big wave. I want to talk about why this photo works, and maybe the one thing that makes it so it doesn't really work. The reason it works is all about balance. You have town, and it's a big element in the photo. And so if you have that all by itself, it really makes the image feel very heavy to one side. So you need to find an element to balance that out on the right-hand side of the photo. I'm going to show you a photo up on the screen right now without any foreground. And you see the town is up on the top and it's very dead off to the bottom right. It feels lonely, it feels empty, it feels totally unbalanced. So we need to find an element to put in the bottom right-hand corner of the frame. So in the photo you're going to see now, I've done that with these rocks here, and it really helps balance it. Now the one thing that I don't think works with it is this rock element is maybe a little bit too dominant in the frame. I'd like to find something a little bit smaller. That being said, the light is kind of dying on this photo now. The sun comes out from that way and it's just getting really bright that way. So I'm gonna now hike to the exact opposite side and photograph back the opposite way. So let's go do that and try to make a second photo. So I'm just gonna cut scene to future Brendan because there's a clip missing where I talk to the camera. I guess I forgot to push the button on record, which is important if you're trying to record yourself. I found a second photo before I went from one side of the beach to the other, and I'm talking about balance in today's video, and this was an important point, so I need to make it. The second photo I found used a smaller rock in the foreground, and it still has that balance because you have town up top and then the rock on the bottom. The first photo kind of has balance from top left to bottom right, and this one has balance from top middle to bottom middle. So whenever you're looking to find balance, you kind of just have to see where the heavy elements in the photo are and then find something exactly opposite in the frame to place to balance it out. So here's that photo, and then we'll get back to a third photo. Just had a minor freak out. because you guys probably know this, but these cliffs along the coast here in Portugal are super, super brittle. They're constantly falling into the sea. That's why you have giant chunks of rocks like this in the sea. And I just heard what sounded like growling. And the growling sound is usually when the rocks are starting to break. But it also could be there's a lot of caves along here. It could just be the water churning in there. So I don't know how safe this is. The spot I want to shoot is right on the edge of this cliff that was making sounds. So getting back to balance, you don't always need a rock in your foreground, as I often do, to create balance in a photo. Sometimes it's just about having a bit of nice light in the bottom, or a leading line, or just anything that kind of just helps balance off that image. So right now I've been kind of sitting watching these waves, and they seem to come up to about where I am. So what I've been doing is sitting with 1/2 second exposures, as that one goes way above where I am, and just waiting until a wave comes basically right here and creates a leading line towards this beautiful light up top. You're also getting really nice light on the water that's being reflected off of it, and because of that, even though there's no foreground element other than the water, it does work and it does feel balanced. So I get obsessed with finding a foreground. Sometimes you can kind of create one just out of waves like this. Okay, that worked out really well. I had no plan for this morning, ended up talking about balance and composition, which is something I don't think I've truly learned until maybe a couple of years ago. It's such an important lesson, and it's one I wish I would have learned a lot earlier, because I used to think I was really good at photography. And looking back at my photos from even just 3 years ago, I'm like, oh my God, that photo is so unbalanced. Balance makes a massive, massive difference, not only in photography, but in life. And we're getting our life balanced out here in Portugal. I have to say, I absolutely love it here. I feel the least anxiety and the least stress I have in my entire life here, despite all the stuff going on with the mortgage, which, as I mentioned, is kind of getting resolved. I think we finally found what the problem was, and I'll maybe get into that in the next video or the video after that. There should be 3 videos a week again starting soon, because life should be getting back on track soon. And that's it for me today. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.